A friend of mine was recently diagnosed with prostate cancer, and fortunately, he had an operation and they got it all out, and all's well, I believe. So that's good news. But of course, I'm certainly of an age now where cancer and stuff like that are becoming more and more of a concern. So it kind of focuses the mind. So I saw in the news recently that an organisation were asking people to download an app called DreamLab. This app in particular. Oh, well, not in particular, but this app. Let's open it up. Now, DreamLab is an app which has been produced by Vodafone, the Vodafone Foundation. And basically what it does is it sends packets of data for your phone or your tablet or whatever to crunch data, which is then used by organisations who are trying to find drugs and all the rest of it to combat cancer, well, in this case. Now, there's similar things out there. For example, the SETI at home, Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence, does a similar thing by sending packets of data to people's computers, and whilst the computer is not being used, a screensaver comes up, which is a special one for SETI, and it starts calculating or crunching numbers and sends that data back to SETI for them to process. And this will be, I don't know, radio telescope information. In this case, what we're dealing with is information about drugs, different types of drugs that are used to combat cancer. And as I understand, what they're actually doing is taking known cancer drugs and trying to come up with new applications for them, again, to fight cancer. And it's the Imperial College London that is looking for this data. Now, the amount of data that they've got is vast, and the example they give is that an 8-core desktop computer would take 300 years on its own to crunch all the information that they need. So there's obviously a vast amount of data. Modern mobile phones are incredibly powerful computers. So the idea is, in the case of DreamLab, is that whilst you're sleeping, you run the DreamLab application and it will receive data and start crunching it. As I say, while you're sleeping. In other words, the longest period of time during the day that you won't be using your phone. Let's see if I can find a bit more information about it. So if I go to projects down here, you can see that there's two projects. There's Project Genetic Profile, which is decoding brain, lung, melanoma and sarcoma cancers. And that project has got 46,000 what they call dreamers, in other words users, 35 million calculations, and that's 36.1% complete. Now, the one I'm supporting is Project Drugs, and at the moment we've got 17,000 users, 317 million calculations. I'm not sure if that's the number performed or the number that need to be done. I think it's the number that need to be done, which kind of makes sense because that's 35 million calculations, which is considerably less than 317, and that project's well in advanced. But at any rate, this one caught my eye. So basically what I do is I run this whenever I'm not using my phone, as I say, when I'm asleep. Sometimes at work, just plug it into power. You have to have power going to your phone. I'm running this on an iPad at the moment, but I've got it on my phone as well. So when you're not using your device, then just, let it run these calculations, and hopefully what you're doing is supporting the fight against cancer, which sounds like a pretty darn good fight to me. Let's look at the contribution I've made so far. Well, on this one, I've not actually made any contribution at all because I'm using my mobile phone to film this. But I've done about 100 calculations so far. although it says 0 there, that's because it's the iPad, and I haven't actually used the iPad yet for this purpose. But I will be, so I can run it on my iPhone when I'm not using it. I can run it on my iPad when I'm not using it. Yeah, it seems like a pretty good use of your mobile phone. I think they actually need 100,000 users putting their phone on running DreamLab overnight to get the calculations that they need done. I'm just trying to yeah, if I go into news, and basically let's have a look at this. It's a bit slow today. I think my internet connection is absolutely appalling. So basically it tells you how it works, and there's a video that you can run, and you can also set it to use Wi-Fi only, or you can set it to use your mobile data when you're out and about, but you can also cap it. So if you've only got a certain amount of mobile data, you can cap it to say 250 megabytes or 500 or whatever. I've got mine on the maximum because I've got a fairly decent amount of data on my plan. So it says those connecting via other networks needn't be deterred either. Running the app for 6 hours a night will use around 500 megabytes of data per month, which this day and age is not a great deal. One of the downsides with it, I say downsides, if you've got a wireless charging phone, what you'll need to do is put a cover or place something on top of the screen during the night if the phone's by your bed, because the screen doesn't actually shut off. So what I always do is I just run the app, but I just bring the brightness right down to 0 like that, and it's not a problem. So there we go. That's the DreamLab application, and I hope you found that a little bit inspiring to perhaps get involved in a project like this. Let's just quickly run it up. So power DreamLab, and okay, so now it's powering, and you can see a little spinning thing there, which has got a number in the middle, which will tell you the number of calculations you've done. I think it says, you can see it's now gone dark. The screen has actually gone dark. Well, that's actually the app that's done that. But I find that that's a little bit intermittent, so I just close down the brightness manually, but it's fine. And I'll probably do anywhere between 4 and 10 calculations a night. I guess that depends on the amount of data that you download and the particular calculation that you're doing. So obviously when the calculation's finished, it sends it back to whoever, I presume Imperial College London or whatever, via the app, or through Vodafone who collect the data, and it's all good. So anyway, I hope, as I say, you found that interesting, and you'll perhaps consider using the app. I don't know if it's available on Android. I would imagine that it must be. It's certainly available on iOS. So when you're not using your phone, when you're asleep at night, do something useful. In any case, thank you very much for watching. Cheers.